So if you're in the market for a budget-friendly camera monitor, there are a bunch of options out there nowadays. But I'm gonna go over one that I find particularly interesting. So first and foremost, I just want to give a huge shout out to Falcon for sending out this monitor to me for review. I did not pay for this monitor myself, but they also did not pay me to give a good review. And not everything I'm going to say about this monitor is good news. I actually have some really critical thoughts about it. So stick around. I promise you it's going to be a very honest and fair review. Now, as always, first up, build quality. Now, the Falcon Bestview R7, a very lengthy name, has an all plastic body and it's rather cheap feeling, to be honest with you. Also unnecessarily thick, in my opinion. I have the Atomos Ninja 5 and it has a built-in recorder and it still comes in much thinner than the Bestview R7. And keep in mind, the Bestview R7 is just a monitor. There's no recording feature at all. So the extra chunkiness kind of feels unreasonable here. Looking around the body, there's also a bunch of buttons you can use to adjust your settings within the monitor. And there's actually 3 customizable buttons at the very top that you can change to do whatever you want. You can have it to set focus peaking, you can have it to set zebras, whatever it is you want. You can adjust these 3 buttons at the very top to do anything that you want to trigger instantly without having to dig through the menus. But all these buttons do feel extremely cheap and extremely flimsy, just like the body itself. There's also a dial at the very top to help you scroll through your menus, but this does feature a touchscreen, and I'll be going over the screen features a little bit later. Now, if we continue looking around the body, you can actually see that there's an HDMI in and HDMI out port, so you can daisy chain a bunch of monitors together if you want to. There is also a DC port, so if you do not want to use batteries, this monitor takes Sony MPF batteries. If you don't want to have to worry about that, you're using it in a studio setup, much like I have here. There's also 2 1/4-inch threads on the side and on the bottom of the monitor, so you can mount this however you want to. And there's also a standard USB port at the bottom of the monitor. And this is how you load in your LUTs to the monitor itself, and also how you update the firmware of the monitor. And of course, there's a headphone jack, which is pretty standard on all monitors nowadays. And this is extremely helpful if you have a lower end camera model that doesn't have a headphone jack built in, like the older Sony APS-C cameras that did not have a headphone jack. So overall build quality is okay. It's not amazing. There's nothing to write home about. But for the most part, this thing should last you fairly well as long as you're not throwing it around. And just to give you the price on this thing really quickly, it's currently $260 on Amazon. So let's talk about the really important feature, the screen. This monitor features a 7-inch 1000 nit brightness 1080p monitor that supports 4K up to, I believe, 30 frames per second. So when it comes to other budget-friendly monitors out there, most of them have 5-inch monitors. A lot of them do not have anything close to 1000 nits of brightness. And if they do, they're closer to that $400 price tag. So this is where this monitor really shines. This is where you're getting the bang for your buck. And on top of it being an ultra bright 7-inch 1080p monitor, it is also touchscreen, which again is hard to find at the price point this thing is coming in at. Now let's talk about the fidelity of the screen, the quality of the image you're gonna get out of this thing. Since it is 7 inches and since it is 1080p in such a compact size, the sharpness is honestly impeccable. I'm really impressed with how sharp the image is coming out of this thing. The monitor on the back of your camera probably isn't the best thing anyway, so this is gonna be a hell of a step up for you if you're only using that. If you're someone who's coming from another monitor, I personally have owned the Small HD Focus, and then now I use the Atomos Ninja 5. I'd say it's extremely comparable in sharpness to the Atomos Ninja 5. And of course, brightness wise, again, being 1000 nits, if you take this thing out in the sun, you're still gonna be able to see your image, which is fantastic and really the point of picking this monitor up over its competitors. If you didn't really care about it being daylight viewable, there's a ton of other cheaper monitors out there that you can use for studio setups. My only complaint is that it's a glossy display. A lot of these monitors are always glossy displays. Even the Ninja 5 is a glossy display. So in direct sunlight, technically, yes, you can still see it, but there's gonna be a glare and it's gonna be kind of difficult to see it in that situation. So if you can find a matte screen protector for this thing, I highly suggest picking that up. But let's move on and talk about the features that are included within the monitor itself. So of course, like I mentioned earlier, you can load LUTs onto this monitor. So if you're someone who wants to load all your LUTs, all your custom LUTs onto the monitor itself so you can see what your image is gonna look like when you finally process it in post, you can do that with this thing. But on top of that, the features that I think are actually really exciting and useful for everybody out there who's doing video. It does include waveforms, it does include vector scopes. You can do things like focus peaking, false color, all these kind of standard monitoring features for video are all included within this monitor. And it actually includes a lot of adjustability with that as well. So you can adjust the opacity of a lot of these different maps and settings. Okay, so camera died. I forgot my backlight earlier, so this is gonna look different, don't worry about it. But like I was saying, although a lot of these features can be adjusted, there are still some that can't be adjusted at all or very minusculely. So while there is some customization, it's not full-fledged and it's not extremely dense like you would find on other monitors like the Atomos or the Small HD. Now there is one weird feature with this monitor. It actually has built-in speakers. I guess if you're reviewing footage and you wanna hear the audio out of this monitor itself instead of your camera, I guess it'd be useful then. But the speakers on this monitor are awful. They're very bad. And if you actually set the speakers on this thing too high, you get this weird feedback loop and you get a really high piercing noise, and it's very, very uncomfortable and very, very annoying. So I just went ahead and turned the volume on this thing all the way down so those speakers are basically not used at all. Also, when it comes to color accuracy, I can't say that I would trust the colors on the Bestview R7. I'd say I would really just use the vector scopes, and you trust vector scopes and you can really determine what your colors are gonna look like through that. This is a cheap monitor. The panels are usually not the best. But really quick, let's go over all the accessories the Bestview R7 includes. One of the most noteworthy accessories is actually it included a screen protector, but at least for me, it was already pre-installed, so I did not have to install the screen protector myself, which is actually super handy and very nice because I hate installing screen protectors. So on top of that, it comes with HDMI cables, so you have full HDMI to micro HDMI and then full HDMI to mini HDMI, I believe it's called. Then you have a DC to DTAP cable. Unfortunately, there was no DC cable. This just goes straight into your wall, so you have to go buy your own. Luckily, I had some laying around my house, but if you want to plug this in straight to a wall and not worry about batteries, you're gonna have to do an extra purchase on Amazon and find one that's compatible with this monitor. I'll leave what I use down below. It comes with a microfiber cloth, which pretty much everything camera gear related comes with that. It also comes with the USB thumb drive for installing those LUTs and also updating the firmware. On top of that, there's also a carrying case, which is actually a pretty nice faux leather carrying case, which I appreciated. It was kind of a nice add-on because a lot of these monitors do not come with any way to carry them around. And lastly, it did include a cheap ball head. I'm a little disappointed that they just included that instead of, like, you know, those cool articulating arms that come with the Small HD monitors or the Firo World monitors. Those are really nice. So like I said, this is a $260 7-inch 1080p 1000 nit touchscreen camera monitor. I think it's a pretty good bargain, though I would say shop around just in case. If you need something that's 7 inches, if you need something that's daylight viewable, and you need something that is touchscreen because you hate using buttons to navigate menus, it's a pretty good pickup. Like, I enjoyed using it. I don't have any huge gripes about it. I just don't like how thick it is and how cheap the materials feel. I would just say that at the price point that is at, if you do not need a 7-inch monitor, you can actually pick up the Atomos Shinobi. It's a 5-inch, 1000 nit touchscreen monitor, and it's only, I think, $40 more than this guy. And again, you're just paying for that better build quality. But if you need a 7-inch monitor, this is a good pickup. It does the job and it does it pretty well, and I can't really complain too much about it. It's just, I wish the price was just a slightly bit lower, especially since Atomos just did really lower the price of their Shinobi. So if this thing came in at like $240, I would say absolutely pick this thing up. It's a way better deal. But at $260, it's just a little too close to the Atomos Shinobi, especially since you could probably find it used now for even cheaper than $300. And if you could find this monitor for cheaper than $260, you can find it for $240 or even less. I'd say absolutely pick it up. It is still a pretty great monitor. It's just not the best build quality. Again, that's honestly my biggest complaint out of everything. But if you own this monitor or you're thinking about picking it up, let me know in the comments down below what made you go with this one over the other monitors out there. If you know of any other great budget-friendly monitors on the market today that are touchscreen and have all these other cool features, let me know that as well. And if you like this video, please consider subscribing. It would really mean a lot to me. I really appreciate it. But as always, my name is Joshua Munoz. Stay sexy, and I'll see you sometime.